Jeff and Dustin here with some late breaking news. Apparently, Dustin, they are going to make a fifth Indiana Jones film.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a fourth.
I tried to forget. For the last 8 years, I've tried to forget.
Well, you got a few more years that you're going to have to scrub something else from your brain, because according to this article I'm reading here on IGN, garbage site, on July 19th, 2019, Indiana Jones 5 will officially be released with Steven Spielberg at the helm and Harrison Ford returning as old Indy. Now, Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall from Lucasfilm Group and previous producers are also going to be producing on this. As we all know, in 2013, Disney acquired the rights to the Indy series for all future distribution and production, and so they will be carrying that out moving forward. Of course, Paramount, though, gets a small stipend from every film released from here. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, I think that on July 19th, 2019, I may kill myself because this is a terrible fucking idea. I mean, Indiana Jones at one point in time was the perfect trilogy. And before that fourth movie came out, I would say that Indiana Jones was my favorite movie character. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade are awesome 10 out of 10 movies. I fucking love everything about them. Wouldn't change a line of dialogue, anything. And then you had that piece of shit fourth one that tainted the saga.
See, I was going to ask you about that. Going into the fourth one, not knowing anything, and this was pretty much pre the internet as we know it now, where spoilers are everywhere and all this stuff. What did you think going into the fourth film?
Dustin, I was so excited that I had a job interview that day that I scheduled around just so I could see Indiana Jones 4.
Nice.
I was so excited. I went out to the fucking Toys R Us. I was 19 at the time. I went to Toys R Us. I bought everything I could fucking find with Indiana Jones on it. I went crazy. I bought Indiana Jones cereal, Indiana Jones regular cornflakes, M&M ice cream bars, Pop-Tarts. I have Pepsi 2 liters or Dr. Pepper 2 liters with Indiana Jones on them still. I went to Burger King and ate there just to get the fucking paper cups. To say I was excited for this movie was an understatement. It was like the second coming. You know how people were excited for Episode 7? That's how I felt for Indiana Jones 4, because there hadn't been a bad Indiana Jones, and Harrison Ford looked good still. He had aged well. And then the movie came out, and it sucked.
So we can blame you for number 5 existing because of all the merchandising money that you spent.
Yeah. There's even more that I haven't talked about. Like, I bought a $200 Indiana Jones doll. So it is all my fault. So listeners, if you want to bullseye somebody, bullseye me, and make sure you finish me off before July 19th, 2019, so I don't have to be held responsible for this piece of shit.
Because he's going to finish himself off on that day. Yeah, but ironclad guarantee Jeff Hicks will commit suicide. 2019 in protest. You're a modern day monk.
Maybe it'll be character suicide at this point.
How old is Harrison Ford these days?
1,048.
That's about half of what I estimated, but
he is a rotting corpse at this point in time.
What made the first 3 great?
Well, you had Indiana Jones, who was an excellent character. He wasn't like a James Bond who was really smart and great at his job. Indiana Jones was a smart guy. He was a professor, obviously, but in the field when he was like fighting and doing his shit, he was really believable. It wasn't like he was going to pull out a gadget and like melt someone's face off. Indiana Jones got his shit pushed in a lot. For as much ass as he kicked, he got his ass kicked. And he was, I don't want to say relatable, but I almost wanted to say he was relatable because he was just a regular guy doing this. He didn't have training outside of academic training.
So he was more of an everyman than your typical, like you said, James Bond or skilled fighters like that.
Yeah, all he did is throw punches and, like, kicks. Not even, like, karate moves. Just straight up, like, old-school boxing punches.
So do you think, a big part of that I noticed when you were talking was there's a physicality to him. He's running from boulders. He's fighting all these bad guys. How is 1,048-year-old Harrison Ford going to do that in this 5th film?
Either they're gonna pull him by strings, or they're gonna CGI his face on a different body.
Or they could have Shia LaBeouf come back.
Oh man! Just when I didn't think part 5 could be any worse. You just made it worse. And I actually like Shia LaBeouf nowadays.
I like Shia LaBeouf nowadays too. But what was your problem with number 4? I'll give my quick story with number 4. I had seen all the movies when I was younger. My aunt was big into them, but like most things from my childhood, I block it out. And I was on a date with this girl, and I remember I was kind of tired. I was hoping to get something out of her, not the movie. And I started dozing off, but then there was this giant nuclear explosion, right? And it woke me right up, and there's Indiana Jones hiding in a refrigerator. For you, where did 4 go wrong? Because for me, that's when I completely just washed my hand of the movie and focused on getting some ass.
Oh man, I wish I had the opportunity to get some ass at that point. It was just me in a theater with a bunch of old white dudes that took the day off to go see Indy. The nuking of the fridge is not where the movie died for me. That's probably the least offensive thing.
Really? Because to me, that just completely, I just went, fuck this. This is retarded.
Well, in the classic films, he's always done things that were, I mean, okay, in the minecart chase, he like fucking jumps a minecart like off a ramp and lands on another cart or another track just perfectly. Or the time he lands an airplane like on a road or just does crazy shit. So I guess nuking the fridge is retarded, in theory, but that wasn't completely out of Indiana Jones's like wheelhouse. The part that pissed me off was they neutered the character of Indiana Jones. He became his father, which he was never Sean Connery. He was just a weak old dude. He was not the Indiana Jones we all knew and loved. He looked all right in the face, but he couldn't fight the way he used to. He was like, he was just too intellectual compared to what he used to be. You knew he was smart in the old movies, but he wouldn't go like, according to so-and-so, blah, 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 this day and age. He was just a different man.
Okay, so now we're going to fast forward 12 real years, right? Because that came out in, what, 2007?
8.
2008, okay. So we're going to go forward 11 years when this film comes out. He's way more decrepit. He's not going to be able to run even. I mean, if you watch him in episode 7 try running, it was kind of sad.
Yeah, prior to episode 7, I was really upset about the possibility of Han Solo dying. And then I watched it and I went, well, this is just priming me for when Harrison Ford actually dies. So I wasn't too bothered by that. But yeah, I don't know what the fuck he's going to do. He's just going to fall down. It's going to be an embarrassing film.
And I want to specify again, I don't know if I clarified this. This is a sequel. This is not a reboot. This is not a reimagining. This is a continuation of the original Indiana Jones story. So, Jeff, you know so much about Indiana Jones. What years did the other ones take place?
Well, it's okay. Raiders of the Lost Ark took place in 1936. Temple of Doom took place in 1935, and then Last Crusade took place in 38.
Okay, now Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I know it's a sore subject. Roughly when did that take place? What decade?
1957.
Okay, so if we're going to go theoretically 11 years ahead of that, if they try to match it with his age, we're looking at Indiana Jones in the 60s. What do you speculate he could be searching for in the 60s?
Well, he did aliens and all that other bullshit. He's done a ton of religious artifacts. Unless it's like the search for Atlantis or something crazy, I don't know what else Indiana Jones is going to look for. I don't know what the MacGuffin would be.
Right.
What do you think? I mean, you and I both have a decent knowledge of history. What would you think a nice historical object for Indiana Jones to search for would make an interesting film?
So he's looked for the Holy Grail, right?
Yes, and he's found
looked for the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one from the original trilogy?
Oh, Temple of Doom. He goes after these the Shankara stones. They're these stones that bring good fortune to a small village. He found those and returned them.
Okay, and then in Crystal Skull, obviously it was crystal alien skulls.
Yeah, I guess the plot gets really muddy. Like they're going to find aliens. I've seen the movie a couple times, regrettably.
I would not admit that.
Yeah, well, I own it on Blu-ray because at the time it was the only way to get the whole saga on Blu-ray. So sorry.
Right.
I guess they're looking for aliens. I don't really know what the fuck they were looking for in the movie. That movie's shit. Sorry, I've tried.
I'm thinking of the Star Wars method. We had the trilogy, which all had a certain tone. And then it jumped over to the prequels, and people hated that. So with 7, they returned to that original feeling. I would almost bet that Spielberg goes back to reality-based, if I can call it that, sort of either just straight-up treasure or religious iconography. Maybe the Shroud of Turin. I don't know.
That would be fucking cool.
That'd be really interesting, but I think with today's age, people try to stay away from Jesus and all that stuff. But I have a question for you. Knowing the Shia LaBeouf that you know now, would you be fine with him coming back Now that Harrison Ford is, a foot in the grave.
If he's more meta about it, if it's like you said, the Shia LaBeouf we know today, if we actually get that Shia LaBeouf on film, maybe, like, I don't know, maybe the character of Mutt experiment with LSD and Ken Kesey and all that shit and got weird. And if he's weird in the movie, I could maybe buy into it. But I think that would hurt the film. What made Indiana Jones cool was it was never like he was the main focus. In this last movie, he wasn't the focus. It was like the people around him. It was almost like, hey, welcome back, everybody. And they didn't even bring everybody back for the most part. They forgot Sala and Short Round and all that shit. That's another problem. They should have made Short Round like his son, and I'm using quotations to say that.
But the one that he passes the mantle to, not an actual illegitimate child, correct?
Correct. It's just an Asian kid he rescued on the streets of Hong Kong or something. That should have been his son. And that would have been a nice, fitting thing. They don't really need to make any more after that, but they just like shoehorned in this new character, like, oh, you got a kid. And he's like, I do? Ooh. But I wanted to say one thing. I think if they made Harrison Ford... Okay, I was looking at a magazine recently, the newest Star Wars Insider, and it was Harrison Ford at a party with a fan, and he took a photo. Harrison Ford looked 10 years younger in the photo with the fan than he did in Episode 7. He looked way younger. So I feel like if I could buy this, if maybe they were to... And I'm not saying I'd like it, but if they were to make Harrison Ford up to look younger and then put him further in the past prior to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, maybe that could save it.
Right. And with Hollywood's makeup and special effects today, that is doable. And I like what you said earlier about using a body double with his face superimposed on it.
Well, look at Ant-Man. Michael Douglas in the opening looked just like he actually did in 1989. So why couldn't they just do that with Harrison Ford to make him look just like he did in 1989, our time, and make this movie take place? Honestly, if they want to get me excited, put it during World War II, because it always took place before World War II with Hitler in power, and then post-World War II when they're talking about communists. Take Indiana Jones back to where Nazis are actually a threat. Put him in the battlefield. Take him to fight the Nazis one more time, maybe when they're going against... or going for another artifact. Maybe Hitler's looking for, like you said, the Shroud of Turin, and he's got to stop Nazis from finding it or something. I mean, at this point, you kind of got to go back to what works. You can't take a chance and try something new. And I think George Lucas not being there is a telling sign.
Right, and I think, do you think George Lucas helped or hurt the original films and number 4?
Well, I will say for a fact, I've read this from Steven Spielberg, that he hated the idea of aliens, but because he was best friends with George Lucas, he respected him, and they went with the alien subplot. So
Spielberg hates aliens, even though he's done, he did E.T., he did, what's the 8mm?
He did Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right, so for him to say he hates aliens, I want to smack him in his lying Jew mouth.
Oh my god! You might get a lot of beard. Shit, beard at that. But I guess George Lucas came up with the concept of Indiana Jones. That's one thing I think people in general need to give George Lucas credit for, is he came up with a lot of cool shit. Maybe when he has full control, he fucks up. But he had the idea for Indiana Jones, and Spielberg was upset because he wanted to direct a James Bond movie, and they've never let an American direct a Bond movie, and I think Spielberg wanted too much money, is what it really boiled down to. But my point is, he wanted to make a Bond. Lucas said, I got something even better for you, and Indiana Jones was the result. So I think Lucas was important back in the day, but his contributions have gone.
Okay. So, July 19th, 2019, Indiana Jones 5, sequel, Harrison Ford, Spielberg returning. Jeff, I know you said you're going to kill yourself. What would it take for you to see the film?
Well, I could say something stupid like, "Oh, if we get a bunch of subscribers, I'll see it in 3 years." I think
if you won't say it, I will.
You say that, and I'll say something else.
If we just get 3, dig deep in your pockets, folks, and pull out that subscription, and force Jeff to go see Indiana Jones, you could be saving a life, because it's that or he puts a fucking bullet in his brain.
Oh, it wouldn't be a bullet. I would probably drown myself, like...
Oh, that'd be awful. That'd be the worst way to die.
Oh, I was going to say in beer.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It was just going to be in straight up beer. It wasn't going to be a horrific death. What? I don't know. It's got to be an exciting story. That's what they got to draw me in with. I can forgive Harrison Ford being 1,048. I can forgive Steven Spielberg not making a good movie in the last 5 years. I'm happy George Lucas is gone, But as you know, my opinions on Star Wars, the newest film, maybe Lucas being gone isn't always the best thing. Who knows?
Right.
So maybe,
One of those things you don't know how good you have it until it's gone.
yes, sir.
But no, fans, leave some comments below. I guess a couple things. Speculate on what you think the plot is going to be, what time frame it's going to take place in, what supporting characters are going to return, and the best ones, the ones that we think are the most interesting or line up with our beliefs. Tomorrow we have a podcast as well, right, Jeff?
Correct. World-class bullshitters.
Yeah, so we'll pull from that and we'll throw your comments on there. We love how much you guys interact with us. I'm not saying that, I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not being a whore. I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, one of the highlights of my week is looking at all your new comments. Jeff, I'm sure it's the same with you.
It's exciting. Every time that little bell lights up on YouTube, I'm like, ooh, who's going to crucify me today about hating Star Wars? Or it's, please don't die and go see Ghostbusters. We have awesome fans. They're so much fun.
We do have a great community out there. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And like I said, comment, subscribe, all that other pandering bullshit, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Peace.